Today's lesson is about combining like terms. Like terms are terms whose variables and exponents are the same. So the example that I put here is negative 12x and 6x. These two are like terms. They both have the same variable. They both have an x. And the exponent on the x is the same. Remember, if there's no exponent, then the exponent is a 1. So both of them have an exponent of a 1. And then the example of unlike terms that I have here is negative 5x and 2x squared. These are unlike terms because they do have the same variable. They both have an x as the variable, but on the 2x the x is squared, and on the minus 5 it's not. So that's what makes them unlike terms. Okay, so given the problem 4x squared minus 16x plus xy minus 12 plus 17x squared plus 8y minus 9 plus 15xy minus 33y. What we're going to do is we're going to take our first term that I have already underlined in red. So our first term says 4x squared, and we're going to look throughout the rest of the expression for any other terms that have the same variable and the same exponent. So we're looking at our negative 16x. That's an unlike term. Plus xy, that's not a like term. Minus 12, that's not a like term. Plus 17x squared, that is a like term. So we're going to underline it in red, and then we're going to keep going. Plus 8y, that's not a like term. Minus 9, that's not a like term. Plus 15xy, not a like term. Minus 33y, not a like terms. So the only two terms here that we can combine to are 4x squared plus 17x squared. So I'm going to write that down, 4x squared, and underneath it plus 17x squared. So when you're combining like terms, the variables and the exponents stay the same, and you simply add the coefficients. So we're going to do 4 plus 17. So we get 21x squared. Okay, then we're going to take our second term and we're going to get a different color, and we're going to start underlining any like term. So this time I'm taking the color purple. So we're looking for something that's a like term to negative 16x. So the next term that we have is plus xy. That's not a like term. The next term is minus 12. That's not a like term. And we already used the plus 17x squared. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cross out the ones we've already used so we don't get confused. Okay, and then the next term would be 8 plus 8y, which is not a like term. The next is minus 9. That's not a like term. The next one is plus 15xy, and that's not a like term. And the last one, minus 33y, and that's also not a like term. So there is nothing we can combine to the minus 16x. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave it alone. We're going to say minus 16x. Okay, and so we're done with that term. And remember, we're going to cross them out once we've finished using them. We're going to take a new color and underline the next term. So plus xy, and the next term says minus 12. That's not a like term. The next term says plus 8y. That's not a like term. The next one says minus 9. That's not a like term. And the next one plus 15y. That's a like term. And the last one minus 33y. That's not a like term. Okay, so I'm going to take my plus xy and my plus 15xy and add those together. So remember, I said you're gonna leave your variables and their exponents the same, and then we're gonna just add their coefficients. So if there's not a coefficient in front of the variables, that means that the coefficient is a 1. So in the xy, we're going to put a 1. Okay, so we need to add 1 plus 15. So that becomes 16. And if it's a positive, that means we're going to put a plus sign in front of it. Okay, so remember, we're going to cross out any terms we've already used up. We're going to take a new color and underline our next term. So negative 12. And then our next possible term is 8y. That's not a like term. The next term is minus 9, and that is a like term. And then the next term is minus 33y, and that's not a like term. So we're going to take negative 12, or minus 12, and minus 9, and we're going to add those together. So negative 12 plus a negative 9 becomes a negative 21. Okay, we're going to cross out the terms that we just used. We're going to take a new color, underline our next term, plus 8y, and it can be combined with the only other term, minus 33y. So we're going to say 8y and minus 33y. And when you're combining like terms, you're always going to be adding them. So we get 8y plus a negative 33. Remember that the y stays the same. Bring that down. So 8 plus a negative 33, we get negative 25. Okay, we cross out the terms that we've used up, and then we see that there are no more terms. So then what you do is make sure your terms are in standard form. That means you want them in the order from in alphabetical order from your variables, and in order from greatest to least on the exponents. So that would be 21x squared because that x squared has the highest exponent. Then after that, it would be the minus 16x. After that, it would be my plus 16xy. Then it would be the minus 25y. And last, the minus 21. Okay, so here we have the simplified answer after we've combined the like terms. Okay, so hopefully this will help you with your homework.